Hello everyone. Today I am going to start the second part of this video of the chapter on the face of it written by Susan Hill. So let's begin. I am going to explain once again these dialogues given by Mr. Lamb. Some call them weeds. If you like, then a weed garden. That there's fruit and there are flowers and trees and herbs, all sorts. But over there, weeds. I grow weeds there. Why is one green growing plant called a weed and another flower? Where's the difference? It's all life growing, same as you and me. Here, Mr. Lamb explained that there were a number of plants in his garden. There were flowers, trees, and herbs. Some plants were considered good, and some were called unwanted plants, such as weed. And it was not because they were different. All of them were green in color. It was about how people considered them to be herbs or weeds. In reality, they all were same, just like Darien himself. So, in this passage, Mr. Lamb seems to change the subject by turning back to his garden, but he is actually making an important point here. Whether a plant is considered a weed or a flower is just a matter of perspective, and perspectives can change. Just like Derry can change the way he views the world and himself. Derry, we are not the same. Mr. Lamb. Here, Mr. Lamb gives the statement, I'm old, you are young. You have got a burned face. I have got a thin leg. Not important. You are standing there. I'm sitting here. Where's the difference? Derry. Why have you got a thin leg? So here, Derry didn't agree to this. Mr. Lamb told him that there was no difference. He was young and Mr. Lamb was old. He had a burnt face and Mr. Lamb had a thin leg. These things were not so important and so they didn't make any difference. Derry asked him the reason behind his thin leg. So in this passage, Mr. Lamb reveals that he has his own disability, but in the same breath declares that his missing leg and Derry's burnt face are not important. That is, not important compared to the fact that they are human beings with their own value and dignity. Mr. Lamb also knows what it's like to be mocked, but he clearly has a calmer and more positive attitude about his own disability. Mr. Lamb, real one got blown off years back. Lemmy Lamb, some kids say. Haven't you heard them? You will. Lemmy Lamb. It fits. Doesn't trouble me. So here Mr. Lamb replied that it got damaged in an explosion many years ago. Kids teased him by calling him Lemmy Lamb. Derry, but you can put on trousers and cover it up and no one sees. They don't have to notice and stare. In reply, Derry said that he could cover the thin leg with his trousers so that no one could see it. Mr. Lamb, some do, some don't. They get tired of it. In the end, there's a plenty of other things to stare at. Derry, like my face? Mr. Lamb, like crab apples or the weeds or a spider climbing up a silken ladder or my tall sunflowers. Mr. Lamb said that it didn't bother him much as one day people would get tired of teasing him and would start discussing something else. Derry showed his face in reply to Lamb's statement. Mr. Lamb suggested that things like a crab apples, Weeds, spiders, and the tall sunflowers could also be some of the other things that people would probably look at and discuss. Dairy. Things, Mr. Lamb. It's all relative. Beauty and the beast. Dairy. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Lamb. You tell me. Dairy. You needn't think they haven't all told me that fairy story before. It's not what you look like, it's what you are inside. Handsome is as handsome Dutch. Beauty loved the monstrous beast for himself, and when she kissed him, he changed into a handsome prince. Only he wouldn't. He had have stayed a monstrous beast. I won't change. So here Derry commented that the other things mentioned by Mr. Lamb were things, that is, they were non-living. Mr. Lamb replied that all the things were related to each other. Just like beauty is related to the beast, that is, a beautiful creation is related to ugliness. Here, the statement handsome is as handsome does means in हिंदी सुंदर वह है जो सुंदर काम करता है. So Derry gives more reasons for his angry and withdrawn nature. He has indeed been treated unfairly by the world and feels lonely and isolated because of it. And he doesn't agree with the statement given by Mr. Lamb. Derry was confused. Mr. Lamb asked for Derry's opinion. Derry replied that often he had heard people saying that beauty is not related to one's appearance. Rather, inner beauty is our real beauty. Even a handsome man is the one who does something good rather than one who looks good. And further, he said that once a beautiful girl loved a beast for who he was and kissed him, which turned the beast into a handsome prince. He would not have changed if she hadn't kissed him. But then he said that he won't change. Mr. Lamb. In that way? No, you won't. Derry. And no one will kiss me. Ever. Only my mother. And she kisses me on the other side of my face. And I don't like my mother to kiss me. She does it because she has to. Why should I like that? I don't care if nobody ever kisses me. Mr. Lamb. Ah, but do you care if you never kiss them? Derry. What? So in this line, Mr. Lamb said that Derry was not right at that. Derry said that no one would kiss him ever because of his face. Even his mother kissed him on the good side of his face. He didn't like this at all. He said he didn't care even if nobody kisses him. Mr. Lamb then asked him that did Derry ever want to kiss someone? Derry asked him what he was talking about. Mr. Lamb. Girls, pretty girls, long hair and large eyes. People you love? Derry. Who would let me? Not one. Mr. Lamb. Who can tell? Then Mr. Lamb said that probably Derry wanted to kiss pretty girls who had long hair and large eyes or other people whom Derry loved. Derry replied that no one would ever allow him to do so. Mr. Lamb said that this was unpredictable. Derry. I won't ever look different. When I am as old as you, I will look the same. I will still only have half a face. Mr. Lamb. So you will. But the world won't. This world's got a whole face and the world's there's to be looked at. Derry. Do you think this is the world? This old garden? Mr. Lamb, when I'm here, not the only one, but the world as much as anywhere. Dairy. Does your leg hurt you, Mr. Lamb? Tin doesn't hurt, boy. Dairy. When it came off, did it? Mr. Lamb. Certainly. So, in these lines, Dairy said that he will never look different. When he will be as old as Mr. Lamb, then also he will have only half a face. Mr. Lamb said that yes, he will always have half a face, but the world was full of so many things to look at. So he must look at its beauty. Then Derry questioned him that was the garden the whole world for him? In the reply, Mr. Lamb told him that when he was present in the garden, then the garden was his world. He then questioned him whether his leg hurt. Lamb replied that teen didn't hurt, it never pained. Then they asked him if he suffered pain when he lost his leg. Lamb said that it pained back then. Dairy. And now, I mean, where the teen stops at the top. Mr. Lamb, now and then, in wet weather, it doesn't signify. So he then asked him if it pained now, where the artificial leg stuck into the real one. Then Lamb said that sometimes it pained in wet weather, but it was not that important. Terry. Oh, that's something else they all say. Look at all those people who are in pain and brave and never cry and never complain and don't feel sorry for themselves. Then Derry said that she could understand what he meant by all this, as he had heard people saying that you should take a lesson from those who suffer in pain and never cry or complain about their problems. Mr. Lamb, I haven't said it, Derry. And think of all those people worse off than you. Think you might have been blinded or born deaf or have to live in a wheelchair or be daft in your head and dribble. Here, daft means fool, dribble means slaver. So Mr. Lamb said that he didn't say so. Then they continued that people told him to look at those people who were in worse conditions than him. They told him that he might have become blind, be born deaf, or be handicapped and have to remain in a wheelchair. He may even have been born with mental disorder. Mr. Lamb said that yes, it was true and that Derry knew so much. Derry, it won't make my face change. Do you know, one day a woman went by me in the street. I was at a bus stop and she was with another woman and she looked at me and she said, whispered. Only I heard her. She said, look at that. That's a terrible thing. That's a face only a mother could love. In these lines, Derry said that all this would not change his face. One day, as he was waiting at a bus stop, a woman passed by him. He heard her telling another woman that he had such a terrible face that only his mother could love him and no one else could. Mr. Lamb, so you believe everything you hear then? Then Mr. Lamb asked that, did he believe what he heard? Derry, it was cruel, Mr. Lamb, maybe not meant as such. Just something said between them. Derry, only I heard it. I heard. Then Derry stressed that he heard it. Mr. Lamb asked that was this the only thing he had heard from someone? Derry said that no. He had heard many other things too. So students, these lines show that this small incident encapsulates the way society treats dairy in general. He is pitied, avoided, and whispered about. He is made lonely almost by default, as people avoid him but also assume that no one will want a close relationship with him. Mr. Lamb, who values listening and observing very much, worries that Derry has totally closed himself, shut his ears because of the cruel things he has heard. Mr. Lamb, and is that the only thing you ever heard anyone say in your life? I have explained this line just before. Mr. Lamb just asked Derry that was that only thing that he had heard hearing from anybody in his life. So Derry, oh no, I have heard a lot of things. Mr. Lamb, so now you keep your ears shut. Derry, you are peculiar. You say peculiar things. You ask questions I don't understand. So in these lines, Mr. Lamb suggested Derry that he should shut his ears if he is listening some negative things. To reply, Derry said that Mr. Lamb is very peculiar because he says peculiar things, he asked questions, and Derry didn't got what he is going to say, what he says. Mr. Lamb, I like to talk, have company. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to stop here at all. The gates open. Derry, yes, but in reply, Mr. Lamb said that he likes to talk and he likes to have in the company of people. He also told Mr. Derry that he didn't want any reply or answer to his questions, and he further told that if he wants, he cannot stop there at all. The gate is open, and if he wishes, he can go. So Derry replied, yes, but he hesitated because he wanted to say some more things to Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb, I have a hive of bees behind those trees over there, but some hear bees and they say bees buzz. But when you listen to bees for a long while, they hum, and hum means sing. I hear them singing, my bees. So Mr. Lamb said that there was a beehive in one of the trees, and people considered the buzzing sound of the bees to be a noise, but for him it was a song sung by the bees. Derry, but I like it here. I came in because I liked it when I looked over the wall. Mr. Lamb, if you would seen me, you would not have come in. Derry explained that he had liked the place from outside and so he had entered the garden. Derry, no. Mr. Lamb, no. Then Mr. Lamb questioned that would he have entered had he seen Mr. Lamb, to which Derry replied in negative. Derry, it would have been trespassing. Mr. Lamb, that's not why. Derry, I don't like being near people. When they stare, when I see them being afraid of me. Now the word trespassing means enter without permission. So Derry said that if he would have entered his garden even after knowing that he was there, it would have been without his permission. Mr. Lamb said that was not the real reason. Derry said that he didn't like going near people as they got afraid of him and stared at him. Mr. Lamb, you could lock yourself up in a room and never leave it. There was a man who did that. He was afraid, you see, of everything in this world. A bus might run him over, or a man might breathe deadly germs unto him, or a donkey might kick him to death, or lightning might strike him down, or he might love a girl and the girl would leave him, and he might sleep on a banana skin and fall, and people who saw him would laugh their heads off. So he went into this room, locked the room, and got into his bed and stayed there. Mr. Lamb then narrated a story about the man who locked himself in his room as he was afraid of everything. The man thought that he would meet with an accident with a bus, he would catch infection from someone, a donkey would kick him to death, the lightning may hit him, or he may die because the girl whom he loved may leave him, or he may even slip off a banana and people would laugh at him. And in order to safeguard himself from all such incidents, he locked himself in his room. So, Lamb's story is more like a parable meant to teach a lesson that Derry can never entirely avoid the possibility of pain. No matter how much he isolates himself, Lamb is worried that Derry will totally withdraw from other people in fear of getting hurt. Derry, forever? Then Derry just asked that the man stayed in the room for forever. Mr. Lamb, for a while. But Mr. Lamb replied that it was not forever. Derry, then what? Mr. Lamb, a picture fell off the wall onto his head and killed him. Derry laughs a lot. Mr. Lamb, you see? Derry, but you still say peculiar things, Mr. Lamb. Peculiar to some. Derry, what do you do all day? So, in these lines, Derry asked him what happened next. Mr. Lamb replied that a picture fell on his head and he died. This made him laugh a lot and he said that Mr. Lamb narrated strange talks. Mr. Lamb said that they were strange for some people. Then Derry asked that what he do all day. Mr. Lamb, sit in the sun, read books. Ah, you thought it was an empty house, but inside it's full. Books and other things. Full. So in reply, Mr. Lamb told him that he used to sit in the sun, he used to read books, and if he thought that the house is very empty, then he is wrong. Inside the house, it is full of books and other things. Derry, but there aren't any curtains at the windows. Then Derry asked Mr. Lamb that he didn't see any curtains at the windows. Mr. Lamb, I am fond of curtains, shutting things out, shutting things in. I like the light and the darkness and the windows open to hear the wind. So Mr. Lamb replied that he didn't like curtains. He liked transparency, light, darkness and the wind too. Derry, yes, I like that. When it's raining, I like to hear it on the roof. Mr. Lamb, so you are not lost, are you? Not altogether. You do hear things, you listen. So Derry added that he also liked all of them. And he also liked the sound of the rain falling on the roof of his house. Mr. Lamb commented that Derry was present minded and as he could hear. Derry, they talk about me downstairs when I am not there. What will he ever do? What is going to happen to him when we have gone? However, will he get on in this world looking like that with that on his face? That's what they say. Derry said that his family worried about him, that what would he do in the future with the burnt face. So here Derry withdraws a bit once more, returning to things he has heard people saying about him, but at least trying to show Mr. Lamb that he really does keep his ears open. Lamb does not pity Derry and pushes him to not pity himself. Mr. Lamb, Lord, boy, you have got two arms, two legs, and eyes and ears. You have got a tongue and a brain. You will get on the way you want, like all the rest. And if you choose and set your mind to it, you could get on better than all the rest. Derry, how? Mr. Lamb, same way as I do. So Mr. Lamb said that Derry had everything, two arms, two legs, two eyes, two ears, etc. And he wanted to make Derry realize that he had so much which many other people were deprived of. He added that Derry could accomplish a lot if he determined to do so. Derry asked, how was it possible? And Mr. Lamb replied that the same way he did it. Okay students, I am going to end this here and we will start it in the next video once again. Thank you very much.